The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The best of you are those best to their families, but you're not even best to yourself. How can you lead a home when you can't lead your own soul? The respect crisis you face at home is a symptom, not the disease. The illness is spiritual decay, exploited by Shaitan through the chasm of your unfulfilled obligations. You crave honor, but your inner life is hollow. You seek obedience, but offer nothing worthy of following. This spiritual weakness creates the void that disrespect fills. Your authority isn't granted by marriage, it is earned by righteousness. When righteousness is lost, so is the pillar of your home. The stakes are your akhirah, afterlife. The Quran calls you to action. Start by fixing the foundation. It is a command from Allah, not a suggestion from a self-help book. Return to the source of true strength. The standard is set by Allah. O you who have believed, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is men and stones. At-Tahrim 66:6. This is the ultimate burden of leadership. You are the shield. Your weakness leaves your family exposed to the punishment of the grave and the hellfire. Consider the example of Umar ibn al-Khattab. May Allah be pleased with him. His authority was rooted in his intense accountability to Allah first. When a man complained about his own wife's disrespect, Umar's response was silent reflection on his own greater flaws. Your modern application is the jihad an-nafs, struggle against the self. If you cannot control your gaze, your temper, your tongue, or your commitment to prayer, how can you expect someone else to submit to your direction? True authority begins with commanding your nafs, lower self. We must build spiritual tension. The loss of respect is the sound of your foundations cracking under the weight of negligence. This pressure is a divine wake-up call, a mercy that forces you to choose. Either reclaim your Islamic duty, or resign yourself to a home devoid of barakah and true peace. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that nobility is in service, not domination. He was the most respected, yet the most humble. Your respect is not demanded. It flows naturally from a life lived in total submission to Allah. This submission is the transition point, moving you from a weak leader to a disciplined, honorable servant. The Islamic discipline code is the blueprint for the respect you seek, beginning with the practical implementation of al-qawama, guardianship, not as dominance, but as accountability. Many men misinterpret this Quranic term, An-Nisa 4:34, to mean entitlement, failing to internalize the core requirement. Your protection must be tangible. Your spouse observes your adherence to salat, prayer. If your commitment to the 5 daily prayers is inconsistent, if you rush Fajr, delay Isha, or skip a prayer entirely due to trivial worldly reasons, she registers this not as a minor lapse, but as a fatal flaw in your spiritual architecture. If you cannot discipline yourself to stand before your Creator, how can you be trusted to guard her and your children against the trials of life and the whispers of Shaitan? This is the root of the loss of respect. Disrespect is the logical response to demonstrated indiscipline. The discipline code demands that your time, energy, and resources are prioritized correctly. The financial provision you provide, which is part of your qawama, is secondary to the spiritual provision. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The most beloved of deeds to Allah are those that are constant, even if they are few." Sahih Muslim. This constancy must define your Islamic practice and your interaction with your family. Are you consistently patient, consistently just, consistently present? The true Muslim guardian is the rock of discipline, the first one up for Fajr, the last one to let a falsehood pass, and the most generous with his time and attention. Rebuild your respect by rebuilding your personal taqwa, consciousness of Allah. She will sense the change in your spiritual weight before you utter a single command. The first step in command, is self-command. For the woman seeking true respect, the discipline code centers on the concept of inner strength, derived from haya, modesty and self-respect, and tarbiyah, nurturing development. Islamic femininity is not passivity. It is purposeful energy guided by profound internal discipline. Your strength is not measured by loudness, but by the quiet constancy of your character. When a woman compromises her boundaries, be it through excessive exposure, emotional dependence on non-mahram, or sacrificing her Islamic duties for fleeting worldly acceptance, she erodes the very dignity that is the magnet for respect. The weakness in the home often comes from the woman's failure to command her own time and focus, allowing the distractions of dunya, worldly life, to displace her role as the spiritual anchor. The respect of a Muslim husband is guaranteed when he witnesses his wife's consistent devotion and effort in maintaining the home as a sanctuary, not just a structure. This is the tarbiyah of the home, a profound discipline task. The Prophet, peace be upon him, praised the woman who guards her deen, religion, and the honor of her husband, Sahih Bukhari. This guardianship requires immense emotional and spiritual rigor. It means disciplined budgeting of time and resources, disciplined protection of her children's iman, and disciplined maintenance of her own haya. When a man perceives his wife as the disciplined spiritual general of the inner sanctum, his respect becomes unshakable. When you command your inner life, the outer world, including your spouse, must fall into place. Reclaim your self-respect, and you will receive the respect of others. The root of disrespect is shaitan's whisper that undermines the contract of mawadda wa rahma, love and mercy. His primary battlefield is the nafs, specifically targeting the man's ego and the woman's self-esteem. For the man, shaitan whispers arrogance. She must obey you because you are the man. Your actions are irrelevant. This whisper encourages emotional withdrawal, rigidity, and the failure to apologize or initiate reconciliation, falsely equating humility with weakness. This turns qawwama into a tool of oppression, which is not only counter-Islamic but guarantees rejection. When the husband acts out of wounded ego rather than righteous leadership, the wife's duty to respect dissolves into justifiable defiance. For the woman, shaitan whispers resentment. You are oppressed, your contributions are ignored, your husband is weak. This whisper encourages nagging, belittling, and the comparison of her spouse to unrealistic, non-Islamic external standards. The Prophet, peace be upon him, warned against the woman who is ungrateful to her husband, Sahih Bukhari. Shaitan exploits the unmet expectation, turning minor disagreements into deep, structural contempt. The defense against both whispers is the same: radical, immediate focus on your own taqwa. When you feel the urge to criticize, stop. Instead, recite istighfar, seeking forgiveness, and analyze your own sin. Only by starving shaitan's access point, your own spiritual flaw, can you starve the conflict in your home. The spiritual warrior defends his home by defeating his own ego first. The mental battle requires actively employing the sunnah of kindness and communication. Disrespect often escalates because of the silence, the assumptions, and the refusal to practice ihsan, excellence, in communication. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was the epitome of kindness, dealing with disagreements with gentle firmness and profound empathy. He said, "The best amongst you is the one who is the best to his wife." Sunan at-Tirmidhi. This is not just theoretical, it's a daily tactical mandate. When you return home, your state must be one of rahmah, mercy. For the man, this means practicing active listening without immediately defaulting to defense or authority. When your spouse expresses hurt, she is not questioning your leadership. She is presenting you with a challenge to your ihsan. Your respect is regained by validating her emotions first, before offering an Islamic solution. For the woman, the mental battle requires choosing the best words and the best time. The disrespectful tone is a weapon that Shaitan places in her hand. The disciplined Muslima understands that the Prophet, peace be upon him, emphasized softness, knowing that gentle words, even in disagreement, maintain the sanctity of the relationship and prevent the man's ego from becoming completely entrenched. The tactical application of kindness disarms the enemy. The moment you choose silence over criticism or validation over defense, you cut Shaitan's supply line, allowing mawadda to flow back in. Disarm the tension with mercy, and the tongue of disrespect will be silenced. The disrespect you face is often a sign that the delicate balance of tawakkul, reliance on Allah, has been broken, replaced by reliance on either your own strength or, conversely, a reliance on the spouse's reaction. True Islamic dignity, for both genders, stems from recognizing that your spouse's respect is not earned from them, but is a gift granted by Allah based on your alignment with His commands. When the husband places his identity and sense of self-worth entirely on his wife's submission, he shifts his reliance from Allah to a creature, resulting in fragility, overreaction, and emotional demandingness, all hallmarks of weak leadership. Conversely, when the wife relies on her husband's approval as her source of izzah, honor, she becomes emotionally volatile and desperate for validation, leading to nagging or covert manipulation, which are the antithesis of the disciplined Muslima. The tawakkul balance requires a clean break from this codependent spiritual economy. Your ultimate accountability is to Allah, not to your spouse's shifting moods. Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "Do not let your difficulties fill you with anxiety, for it is only in the darkest nights that the stars shine more brightly." When you fix your gaze on Allah, acting righteously regardless of the immediate emotional outcome, the respect of your spouse becomes a secondary, inevitable byproduct of your devotion. Your strength becomes the manifestation of His strength, which is unassailable. Shift your reliance from human approval to divine approval, and watch your dignity return. Applying the tawakkul balance in daily marriage life requires the practice of husn al-dhan, good suspicion, towards Allah, even amidst conflict. When faced with disrespect, the natural human reaction is paranoia and self-pity. Shaitan exploits this by making you believe Allah has abandoned you or that your marriage is cursed. The tawakkul balance compels you to replace this suspicion with the knowledge that Allah is testing your sincerity. Do people think that they will be left alone because they say, "We believe," and will not be tested? Al-Ankabut 29:2. The disrespect is a test. The man must ask, "Am I relying on my worldly status to grant me respect or my spiritual sincerity?" The woman must ask, "Am I relying on my husband to fulfill my emotional needs, or on Allah who controls all hearts?" By shifting the blame from the spouse to the self, specifically the self's deficient relationship with Allah, you neutralize the emotional charge of the conflict. This is the ultimate submission to qada wa qadar, divine decree. The respect you truly seek is the inner peace that comes from knowing you performed your duty to Allah perfectly, regardless of the reciprocation. Once this inner peace is achieved through tawakkul, the external atmosphere of the home must change, because the source of your peace is divine and infectious. Your peace is your spouse's greatest reward and the inevitable magnet for their respect. The saber, patience strategy is not passive endurance. It is strategic persistence rooted in iman, faith. Disrespect often triggers an immediate aggressive response, the jahiliyyah, ignorance reaction of demanding honor. Saber is the Islamic counter-tactic, a disciplined pause that allows the barakah of time to work. The disrespect must be met with a strategic endurance of doing better. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us that patience is a light. Sahih Muslim. For the man, this means increasing your excellence in provision and protection after being disrespected. If she questions your authority, You do not argue. You double down on your qawama, increasing your prayer, your kindness, and your commitment to justice. This strategic consistency chips away at the negative perception because it demonstrates an unshakable adherence to Islamic character, which is a source of awe and respect. For the woman, sabr means strategically enduring the imperfections of her husband while increasing her own contribution to the home's stability, specifically by guarding her tongue. The greatest act of sabr in marriage is the refusal to respond to a foul word with a foul word. This is sabr jamil, beautiful patience. The disrespect is a temporary shadow. Your sabr is the permanent light that will eventually expose and dispel it. This disciplined endurance proves that your character is not dependent on her praise, but on the command of Allah. Meet transient negativity with permanent positive action. That is the strategy of sabr. The most difficult application of the sabr strategy is holding the line of Islamic justice, qist, while remaining patient and gentle. The Prophet, peace be upon him, never compromised justice, even with his family. The emotional sabr must be balanced by the strategic maintenance of essential haqq, rights. For the man, if disrespect crosses into active disobedience or a clear violation of Islamic law, e.g., abandoning prayer, introducing haram into the home, sabr shifts from quiet endurance to a disciplined, gentle correction as outlined in the Quran, An-Nisa 4:34. This correction must be performed with the highest ihsan, never out of anger or revenge. The sabr here is the patience to execute justice without letting the nafs interfere. For the woman, her sabr involves strategically demanding her haqq, her rights to financial provision, kind treatment, and emotional safety, without resorting to manipulation or threat. She is patient with her husband's flaws, but firm on the non-negotiable Islamic principles. This strategic firmness, when delivered with sabr and dignity, commands respect far more effectively than any outburst. The goal of the sabr strategy is not to win an argument, but to preserve the Islamic structure of the home. When your spouse sees that your patience is the result of strength, not weakness, and that your firmness is rooted in divine law, their disrespect will yield to awe and compliance. Sabr is the strategic weapon of the awakened Muslim. The ultimate solution to disrespect is the purpose activation, shifting the entire dynamic of the marriage from a self-centered pursuit of happiness to a joint mission for Allah's pleasure. When the marriage lacks a high spiritual purpose, it degrades into a mere negotiation of emotional and material needs, leaving it vulnerable to the whispers of shaitan and the poison of disrespect. The foundation of awakened Muslim marriage is the collective realization that you are two warriors allied for Jannah, paradise. The man must activate this purpose by leading the family in acts of deen. Not just praying, but organizing halakat, study circles at home, driving collective charity projects, and setting the spiritual tone of the household. When the wife sees her husband's life devoted to a purpose greater than himself, her respect is automatically resurrected because she is following a noble flag. The woman must activate this purpose by transforming her domestic duties into acts of profound ibadah, worship. The organized home, the nurtured child, the calm environment. These are the strategic support system for the man's external mission. The Prophet, peace be upon him, defined the highest purpose for us, seeking the pleasure of Allah. When disrespect arises, it must be reframed. It is a trial to hinder our joint mission. This shared, elevated purpose makes the minor flaws of both partners insignificant. Disrespect cannot survive when both partners are actively engaged in a higher form of spiritual warfare. Activate your joint mission, and disrespect becomes a trivial distraction. The final command is the establishment of the legacy of honor through consistent deen transmission. Your spouse's respect is the mirror of your children's future respect for you and for the deen. If your children see disrespect normalized, they will perpetuate it, fracturing the ummah, community, one family at a time. The purpose activation culminates in the disciplined, continuous effort to teach, guide, and embody the prophetic character. For the man, this means making the effort to seek knowledge, tafsir, hadith, and share it gently, becoming the primary spiritual educator. Your iman is your legacy. For the woman, it means being the most diligent example of haya and sabr for her children. When a spouse recognizes that their partner is actively building a legacy that will benefit them in the akhirah, guiding their children to Allah, disrespect is replaced by profound gratitude and submission to that noble leadership. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "When a man dies, all his deeds come to an end except for three: an ongoing charity, beneficial knowledge, or a righteous son who will pray for him." Sahih Muslim. Your respected home is your most beneficial knowledge and your greatest ongoing charity. The disrespect crisis is your final call to action. Reclaim your role as the spiritual architect of your home's eternal legacy. The warrior leads by being the ultimate servant of Allah,